Hello, it's Chris again. Good to see everyone. It's been a moment since I last posted my last video. I think it's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I apologize. I'll try to do once a week, couch therapy. I've also got some like melted butter, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I don't know. It feels good. It feels warm, doesn't it? Feels like warm you inside. It's like, hey, I love it. Today's video, I wanted to just kind of talk about some questions that I saw online. One was like, what happened during COVID? What I want to mention too is for ones watching, again, thank you so much for your comments and views, is when you looking through the comments, if you see a question you guys like, feel free to put a thumbs up on that, because it moves it to the top of the list, and quite frankly it makes it easier for me to go through the list of things, and then can make a video about it or talk about it. So one of them was on COVID. What bullshit happened during COVID? I got to talk about that a little bit. So yeah, when COVID happened, I think it was a shift, quite frankly, in how the branch, and I'm using certain terminology. So if this is your first time watching, hello. Chris was an elder for 7 years and give therapy sessions. Really just my own viewpoint of what I experienced. I try to be as transparent as possible, and honestly kind of no bullshit type of approach. Just human to human, just like, this is the shit that happened, and here's my view, and again, just I still love all Jehovah's Witnesses and care deeply about them, and not just them, just people in general. So but I'll just kind of be upfront and straight with kind of what happened in the past and what I experienced as I left about now 15 months ago or so. So anyways, so welcome to the channel. Subscribe, like, comment, do all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you. So what I will say is, on COVID, I think it was a shift. So when that happened, I was serving as an elder at the time, and the branch was sending out, I want to say we use branch, this is like the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body, sends out kind of correspondence through different branch committees to various congregations. So point is, all congregations across the globe, specifically that I know in the United States branch territory, got letters from the governing body. And there's some differences, because even there's a shepherd book. So I'm going off a little bit, trying to get some context here. So every elder is giving a shepherd book, right? So this is like for all elders around the world, no matter what country they live in. There's a separate document that is attached to all branch territories that are updates or things that you need to know in your area. This could be the United States. This could be Europe, but it's so whatever the branch territory is, there's a separate document that's amendments to the shepherd book. So I say that because things probably went a little bit different in other parts of the world. So if you're seeing this video from other countries, maybe your experience is a little different. So all I can speak of is what was happening specifically in the United States, and really the congregation I was in. But at least in this case, these letters were given out to the branch territory in the United States. Okay. Sorry, that was more complicated than it was. So all letter was sent. So when it first started, we got a letter from the branch saying, okay, so we're seeing some things, right? And it's interesting looking back now, seeing how they really kind of played up on how the branch was the first one to kind of respond, because of Jesus Christ, right? Respond to what world news happened, right? I just kind of love how they kind of play that note constantly. In reality, I think it's funny. I even remember this at the time. I remember the LDS church actually stopped their preaching prior to us. As a result, of course, they didn't say that. Again, I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. I remember it being said and learning about this in Idaho, and it's kind of close to Utah. So a few days prior to Jehovah's Witness, pausing that in response to COVID, the Mormon church and LDS church did that. So it's okay, so how did I don't know, it's just you know what I'm saying? When the kind of the story is that Jesus Christ is leading us, it's well, how come other religions are responding quicker and different than we are? It's weird being in an environment. I remember having that thought, didn't they pause that before we did? But okay. So there was a lot of confusion during that time period, and this is where probably there were some like political things. I don't use that word too often, but there was some kind of like shifts emotionally in there, specifically vaccines, not vaccines. People were pretty pissed off in the congregation, specifically when the branch was kind of like underhandedly saying like you should get vaccines. And there was a decent amount of Jehovah's Witnesses, including me and my ex, were like, this kind of seems strange. Like obviously, like our belief at the time was like, well, we don't want to necessarily take any shots. We're not sure. It's like they're like pushing this vaccine. Like we get it, we want to be safe, but it's like we also don't want to like put anything shit in our body and like. So we were kind of confused. There was like a confusion of information that probably was, I'm assuming, across the board, even outside of Jehovah's Witnesses, so correct me if I'm wrong. But in this area, even in the congregation, there was like, what? We're taking vaccines now? And I thought it was interesting, the stance of like, we're telling you, but we're not telling you. It's like, what are you led? If you're led by Jesus, you should be like saying it pretty directly. So there was people who were just confused and like, and then they went. It's not like they went backward and said, well, we never told you to take vaccines. It's like, well, no, you did. And again, I don't remember specifically the letters. I just know we got a lot of information almost every single day from the circuit overseer and even the branch and like what changes are happening or what we have to do. But I know vaccines was a major part of that, plus the masks. Excuse me, and who can come in the Kingdom Hall during the time. So there's a confusion during that, and it's interesting when you kind of looking back. I think in those areas where information is traveling quickly, you kind of see kind of like how things are not really working as well. Now I think obviously the branch did a really good job at sending information out to the congregations. But again, it was kind of like this weird, like, we told you to take vaccines, but we didn't, and use your free will, and then it's kind of, the information changed on like, okay, well then, you can't force anyone to do it, but you kind of are because you're encouraging elders and ministers, for instance, and pioneers to be the example in it. So it was just very confusing at the time. And then, it just was, confusing. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, especially COVID, if you had anything. I know there's a few comments on what happened during COVID. But yeah, the elders got some information. I just remember during that time period, like elders started like going off track a little bit. At the time we were serving another congregation, me and my ex. We were assigned by the circuit overseer to help in a congregation. This was kind of during COVID, at the point where we're actually in person. Some are on Zoom, some in person. There's also some like weird social things of like, you need to be in person. Like some congregations really were strong on that. Like you need to be in person. And also what's kind of interesting is that the elders in each congregation could decide whether or not meetings were on Zoom after a certain point, whether on Zoom, and in person or in person. That was completely up to the elder body in each congregation. So each congregation is slightly different on whether or not they're fully Zoom, whether or not they're fully in person, whether they're half and half. And there was definitely some like, status being sent, like, well, you need to be in person, right? And be here, and almost like the people that are, individuals that are on Zoom are like less spiritual because they're on Zoom. There was kind of some weird, again, that's kind of some weird like things that went on of like, how are they less spiritual? Like it was very confusing. It was awesome being on Zoom. Honestly, I think people kind of got a rest of like a break, because after that happened, quite a few changes happened, right, in the branch. So we got hours reduced, and then all of a sudden no hours for publishers, and then even after that point, still elders were just arguing on like, well, this brother doesn't have a lot of hours. Like, yeah, there's no hours. You're not supposed to have hours as a bar to appoint a brother. Remember, there's one congregation that even during this time was still requiring pioneers to get a certain amount of hours, when even the branch said not to do that, which I thought was very strange. So there were just some brothers that were very into status and very into power, and like any shift with that was like I don't know, it was just strange. It's hard to kind of look back and like think of like, the almost like the psychology of like why that happened and how people are moved to do certain things because someone's telling them to do so, not using any like critical thinking. It's very interesting. And then of course being in that mindset, like being kind of half in, half out mentally, or like logically almost, but still being convinced it's still the right religion, but then making excuses constantly on why things are allowed to happen and how come God allows things to happen. Like your brain is constantly like, it's definitely confirmation bias. It's complete. There's so many biases going on. We're trying to confirm that what you believe is true. Like, you know, this is the right religion. Why do you know that? Well, I don't know. You just know. And then you're just taking, and anything that is factual before you that confronts that belief, you literally are like using like your imagination to make up shit. Like, oh, no, yeah, this must be why. Yeah, because so Jehovah, yeah, it just doesn't appoint brothers, or it just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're constantly, and the problem is this thinking is used quite frankly in our whole society, right? Where we take certain stances very strongly despite any factual evidence against it. Or we create facts, we look for facts. It's interesting. It's kind of interesting getting out of a cult and looking in the world scene and be like, there's a lot of like cult type of things going on politically and certain things. It's kind of interesting. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, humans are pretty, like, we're wired very interestingly. So I think it's fascinating, like getting out of a high control group, right? Like, we're like manipulation and propaganda and certain things are being utilized, and looking in the world and being like, that's used in a lot of different areas of life. Yeah, COVID was interesting. So it just was, nothing specifically in COVID was like, oh, this is not the truth. Other than just like, again, elders kind of making up their own things sometimes, or like where the branch gave them certain leeways, which they do a lot. Sometimes the branch will tell them specifically what to do, and sometimes like each elder body kind of decides what they want to do in certain contexts. And again, like I talked about in the previous video, voting happens where certain people's, conservative or more non-conservative approaches on life kind of find their way into making decisions about people in the whole congregation. More stricter, more like, scripturally more, stricter minds do certain one ways, and more kind of lenient, like, hey, let's apply love and kindness across the board here. Like, those will kind of be conflicting in like the elder body arrangement, where people are kind of voting because of their own personal beliefs, not necessarily what the Bible is really saying, because of course the Bible is a little more generic, and that's kind of a side point. But like, it's you can't really, like, you can't specify certain things. Like, well, I'll get into another video of like why I don't believe the Bible's inspired by God, but yeah, it's just interesting how it's like they'll be using scriptures to support their own belief system. I don't know. It was sorry. There's so many things as I'm looking back, like just kind of interesting things that happened. So, okay, point is, that's what happened in COVID. Nothing specifically, just again, a lot of confusion. Some things went really smoothly. And then again, the propaganda was like, we were led by Jesus, and see how well we did here. It's like, well, you got it fucked up in these areas. No, we didn't. Look at all the good stuff we did. And that's just how people in general do, right? And you'll see that a lot in Jehovah's Witnesses. It's just like ignoring all the fuck ups and just looking at all the good things. This is confirmation bias, right? Like, oh, this was great. We did this. Look at all these wonderful things we did. And what about this stuff? No, don't worry about that. Look at all these amazing things. See, we're chosen by God because of this shit here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, interesting. But what about these other things? How dare you say such a thing? It just, now looking back, it's very funny. And sad, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you have to laugh or cry, right? I choose to laugh because, but yeah, that's kind of what happened there. And so, and then, yeah, so just that's what happened during COVID. And so nothing specifically. Let's see, I mentioned some shredding of documents, right, in a previous video, right? Honestly, looking back now, I'll reiterate this again because I think it's important for ones who are kind of unsure. Again, this is my personal feelings, right? So I just want to make sure that's very, very clear. I think everyone should do their own personal research and not fully commit to one belief system based upon very little information. Do your own information. the problem is, as humans, it takes a lot of effort to do deep research. So of course we take someone's thoughts and opinions and kind of like make those our own sometimes, because it's very difficult to like deep dive into certain subjects. So we kind of have to do that to save time, because we have work and life and family. But specifically in this, these are just my feelings. And so just my, and I could be wrong on some of these, right? I could be wrong, but this is just my, hopefully as logical and critical thinking as I could possibly conjure. Those are my kind of my thoughts, just on, yeah. So these videos are just that. I want to make sure it's not like, yeah, it's just my own personal thoughts as I go through my own like personal therapy, right? With these videos I share with you guys. And then there was one comment, I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to touch on that, but I guess since I'm here, there was a few comments on like, hey Chris, how come you don't, like, and again, this is well-meaning, right? Like, hey, how come we don't apologize for like spreading propaganda in the past to people? And it's like dude, we all do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think for me, I have taken accountability for that. I realized that I was a tool that was used to kind of spread certain misinformation. But quite frankly, we all do this, people. Like, from being parents, right? We raise our children a certain way, and sometimes those ways are not 100% right. Like, it's part of life, and part of life at times is making like really big fuck ups. And no human on earth will go through life with a clean slate. If you are, you're completely fucking delusional, because that's not how life works. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make some major fuck ups in life. And like, God damn it, how come I did that? It's called being human. As long as we can admit our mistakes and kind of move forward, like, oh shit, sorry, I didn't mean to do it. I know for me, looking back, like, what I did was very well-meaning. And what's nice about looking back is I was a pretty decent human being, in the sense of like, I cared about people still. I loved individuals. I didn't go to people and be like, how dare you fucking dress, right? You're at the, I wasn't super, and again, for ones who are like that, okay, like that's up to you. I think it was pretty like strict at times, so I wasn't like that. So at least there I tried my best to do things. But 100%, when I was on giving talks, right, I was completely providing essence kind of propaganda, and I believe very strongly what I believed in, right? I believe very strongly in the resurrection and the 100,000 and 1914 and you. It's interesting because and this happens so much in life. I'm not sure I mentioned this. I'm in psychology classes right now, and just has been like so like, oh shit, I wish I would have known this before. And some of the concepts I didn't know like intuitively, but like going through like these things, like fuck yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean, I guess these videos are kind of my way of like, hey shit, I kind of fucked up there, and yeah, but at the same time, we kind of all do that. And at least I can feel good. What I can say is I don't have any regrets. I don't have regrets. I think that's pretty huge. Like, I don't look back and think, oh my God, I can't believe I did those things. I believed in what I was teaching about Jesus Christ, and I believed in what I was teaching about what our beliefs were, and I was doing it in a way that wasn't like, I tried not to be pushy. And in fact, I don't think me ever being pushy. I just was very wanted to have a conversation with people and talk about the Bible and talk about God and talk about Jesus Christ. And it was very well-meaning. And I just look back and realize that you can be well-meaning and still be wrong. It's kind of also part of life, right? You can have the best intentions and be completely wrong. And for me, when I look at people, even talk to them now, I don't too much focus on. And sometimes the words are important, right? I don't focus too much on sometimes what they're saying, but rather the intention of the saying, right? Because someone can kind of give you some advice, right? And it's kind of off there. Like, okay, this person doesn't know me very well, but you can tell they deeply care about you, not faking care about you, because that can also be a symptom if you are Jehovah's Witness or even some Christian faiths. Like, people are kind of pretending to care about you. It's almost like a narcissistic. I don't use that word too much, but very you know what I'm saying? It's almost like this weird gaslighting shit. It's like, okay, you can tell from their eyes and body language that they really don't really care about you. They're just trying to act like they do. And I hate that. Just be real. Just be real. And that's kind of what I try to do my best at. So yeah, I think that I'm not sure what I was going I swear to God, I was going somewhere with this reasoning, and I think I was in the woods somewhere. I'm like, oh, where are we at? But yeah, so that's what happened during COVID, and that's kind of my whole take right now, and why I kind of publish these videos in general, just kind of putting my story out there. And hopefully, it seems like, and listening to the comments, many of you have been appreciative of that, and I thank you so much for your support. I think the more of us that can just share our story and just say, hey, this is my view. This is one person's view, right? But as we continue to share our story in a very authentic, genuine way, I think that means a lot. I think there's a lot of people who share a lot of things and they're passionate about it, but it could be wrong. And I think my stance now is this could be wrong, right? But this is how I feel. I'm trying to be, maybe Jehovah's Witnesses do have the right religion, right? Maybe, Christianity is real. Maybe the Bible is real. Like, I don't know, right? I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to take the principles from the Bible that I've learned on how to be a good human being and care about people. But I'm open to thought, open to different, ways of thinking. I think that's when leaving that high control group, my brain now is very receptive. It's very filtered. It's very filtered on like, that doesn't make sense. But I'm also respectful. I like to hear people's thoughts and feelings about their political beliefs, about their religion, about this. My heart's open. I'm very receptive to what they're saying. At the same time, I'm aware that people say and do things based upon a tremendous amount of bias and a tremendous amount of just like believing something, and they fully believe it and it isn't real. And I realize this about human beings. Again, just this is not just isolated to just Jehovah's Witnesses. This is across the board in so many areas. And so at this point in my life, literally being in the real world for 15 months now, that's really my take now. Just like, okay, I have to understand that what happened to me in this religion is not isolated to Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not isolated to LDS or Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a human thing. It's a human condition. To be kind of brainwashed and kind of put into kind of a bucket of thought process, and you constantly back it, constantly support it despite things against it, and you're passionate about the subject. It could be wrong. I realize this is a human thing. It isn't actually a cult thing, or strictly a one unit. This kind of helps you step back a little bit and really use critical thinking. Also care and love. Being able to step in someone's shoes, have empathy and kindness, and see things from their perspective. How can we feel that way? What's your views? And just being very open to hearing different views of thought. So that's my current take, and I feel like it feels good for me. It feels authentic to who I am, and just being receptive to what humans and people I talk to are feeling and thinking about their beliefs. So anyways, didn't go off track on there, but again, this is kind of like just no filter, kind of just sharing those things there. So again, appreciate you guys so much. Continue if there's, and again, being an elder for 7 years as a Jehovah's Witness, as well as being a minister for like, I don't know what it was, like 5 to 10 years. So I was like, and then being a pioneer for 12 years, and then being in certain things, like I feel like I have a lot of stories to share, but again, they're so like, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyways, some questions you guys have will prompt kind of memories to come up. So definitely continue to do that. Thank you. And I'll be able to share some insights. I mentioned this before, and just before I close out this video, I want to just mention just one thing again, whether you're a witness or not, I think just using critical thinking is important. Just, I think one thing when talking, I mentioned this before in other videos, I feel like it's good to repeat, is that if you are on the fence, or let's say if you've left Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're still guilty about certain things, about celebrating Christmas or celebrate things or whatever it is, guilty, just I think addressing why that's the case is good. All I can speak for myself is that like I don't have any guilt from those things. I don't have any guilt because I realize that those are just kind of made up things, and I mean, I don't necessarily believe necessarily in the Christmas in general, but I think it's a good time to like be together and come together as people, in a way that's kind of like celebrates life. I think that's good. I think the more we're united as people, I think the happier we'll be. So I don't know. But I guess that's one thing. I've talked to a lot of witnesses that they just, years and years later, they're still carrying a tremendous amount of guilt. Wondering, did I make the right decision? Did I? And I would just say, just open those doors. Just address your fears straight on, and find out what the answer is. And the answer could be yes or no. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm saying like it's your truth. You're trying to find answers that will help you as an individual live a happier life here on earth with other people. I think being afraid to open doors and address certain things simply just hold us back as a people. All I can say for myself is I've been the happiest I've been in the last year. I've been more in tune with myself. I've been more in tune with others. I've had more love and empathy for others. I'm growing as an individual. I'm very happy of the person I'm becoming, and that's awesome. I feel very like good about that, and so if I can share that in any way with other people, great. I know sometimes I might offend people. Of course, I don't mean to, but I want to be real, and I feel like that's kind of what I try to do. And so I hope these videos and others you see across the internet help you as an individual to continue to grow in whatever modality or whatever kind of like path you're on. So anyways, care about you guys a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. I definitely appreciate that. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you again. Bye.